Hello, my name is Rivas Mayoki and welcome to my segment About Me. This segment should be about me as a philosopher. Oh. Uh, I have no clear idea how I want to present this part of myself, but that is probably suitable since being philosopher is being uncertain about anything or being aware how little you know and be ready to examine, to talk, and to see where your words are leading you. I am not self-proclaimed philosopher. I went and I studied philosophy. I gained myself a diploma, it's behind me, as a professor of philosophy. But I went to study philosophy because I already had an inclination to think a lot and to create my own theories and to play with thoughts. And it seemed like an university I will not have no problem in passing. An easy university for my type of mind and my inclinations because I loved to think. The truth is that I found Sophia's World in the library, of course. Oh, it's always a book. And I loved Sophia's World. It presents philosophy in in an interesting and fun fashion. And when I got a subject of philosophy in high school, I really disliked how my teacher presented it and sounded boring and really not all that inspiring. But when I chose my university, I had a list of topics and there were various variants, and philosophy was one thing that seemed like something I could do with ease, like something that does interest me, and like something it seemed useful to learn how to think clearly, to express yourself clearly, and it seemed like a degree worth having for the future somewhere along the line when I'm older and wiser, when I have wisdom to share with the world. I will have a diploma that will support me, that will show my credentials. I have justification to show my thoughts to the world. I'm like that. I always plan 3 steps ahead, and usually when I was younger, my plans revolved about when I will be 70. I think nowadays, when I'm almost 40, my plans revolve about when I'm 41. So when I was younger, I was much more far-seeing than I am today. And I went to study philosophy, and I discovered that all I can be is a really bad philosopher. Bad philosopher. I barely deserve the title, but I do have the diploma and I can use it, at least for that purposes, to justify myself thinking. Because philosophy, as other things, did specialize. And this modern day and age doesn't even consider to have original thinkers. And I, of course, did strive to be an original thinker, and that's the thing that is attractive about philosophy, the original thought, to think of something new. But philosophy studies end with Heidegger for me. There are some after him, but they're usually philosopher of language, of analytics. Anyway, the philosophers divided into those who study language, logic, who study history of philosophy, and most often it's a history of philosophy. And I'm not so inclined to study history in detail. I'm not really a good analytic mind that could dissect text to bring anything meaningful and new. I'm bad at repetition, so I would be a poor professor. I tried to teach philosophy in high school, but the mere sight of repetition is just. I suck at repetition. People who can do that, I really admire teachers more after having to teach kids that were taller and bigger than me, and I'm not small. But when a guy who is 18 towers you by the head and shouts at you, it's just like, all right, it's good that I'm intimidating and that I'm not easily scared, but oh, I don't want to deal with this daily. I would if I got the chance, but I didn't have another chance. I was just that one time replacing someone who was ill. And I studied philosophy, and I did enjoy my studies, and I was a fairly right student. But when it ended on the final test, my professor asked me, "So you will be working as a philosopher?" I will continue with that, because he was a bit unnerved by me at that point, because till that point he probably thought of me as a material for continuing my philosophy studies, like many on my studies did. One of my colleagues said, "If you're not going further to get a doctorate, who will?" And I was like, "He will." He will, I won't. I'm not that disciplined, and I don't have that kind of analytic focus. Although I always hope that when I get older, that I would maybe return to philosophy and try something with that. But for now, I'm a messy original thinker who doesn't think that I will find really something that will contribute to philosophy. Maybe to modern culture, to pop culture, but to philosophy, no. Those are heavy thoughts that got developed with time and got heavy. And you need so many details, you need to keep so many things in mind, and the slightest word, phrasing, and can change so many things. And I did read what we're supposed to read. I did my papers, and I got even a good final paper, but it's just my mind is not so analytical, and I'm not so critical. I'm more of a person who likes to synthesize things and to create new things. I'm not the one who divides them. That's me and my brother in a nutshell when we were young. He was a busy putting the radio to pieces, and just confident that he will be able to put it back all together, and crying when he was unable to put it back together. And I was picking tulips and just placing them in the row by color. And I was always a much more creative mind, and he was so analytical, and he's very verse. So that's just the difference in the mind. And with time, I realized it's not something you can train into people. We are born with certain kind of minds that work on certain kind of way, and when we try to put new on shoes that doesn't fit, it's just that we are just making life very hard for ourselves, because we have to do double the work than the people who are gifted in that thing. So I think it's quite important to help children understand themselves, and to see what kind of mind they have, what kind of interests, to help them choose a path that won't be so strenuous. Although people are stubborn, when they want something, they want something. Even if it's harder for them than someone who is gifted, they will try. Like I'm trying with writing. Yes, I will strive. And do you do you. You do what's your passion. And I think in the end of the day, when children who I talk to ask me, yes, is how do I choose what will I be, because they are at that age now. And I tell them, just think about what would you want to repeat over and over again. What is the thing that you wouldn't dislike severely if you had to repeat it and repeat it and repeat it again? In the end, it's not the question in what we are the most skilled at, because I do have an mind that is good at analysis, and my friend did tell me I would be an excellent scientist if science was in my interest, and I probably would, but it just wasn't in my interest. I went to fiction, and in the end, we follow our passion, what we are passionate about, what we like to do, and what we don't mind to repeat until it gets good enough for others to consume, to see, to take, to pay us, to anything. And the question of what we become in the end is the question what we end up repeating. And philosophy isn't something I ended up repeating. It's something I have few books of on my shelf, and I forgot most of it. But it was a really very rewarding thing to learn. And it did shape my way of thinking and my way of speaking. And I'm not sorry for my choice. It was a good choice. I don't know, it's better to be a bad philosopher than not to be one at all. That's my take on being philosopher. See you around. Bye.